sister, but Sam appears on an Indian reservation in the United States. A girl called Dani wakes up to the sound of explosions. Immediately afterwards, her desperate father enters the room and pulls the girl out of the house. As they try to leave, they find the entire reserve destroyed with cars and houses set on fire and the inhabitants running for their lives. Meanwhile, father and daughter search for a safe place and arrive in a forest on the outskirts. There, the man leaves his daughter sheltered in a tree and runs to help the other villagers. Shortly afterwards, his body is thrown lifeless in front of the girl, who panics and runs away. She hears a strange noise coming towards her and runs as far as she can, but she falls down a hill and loses consciousness. Hours later, Dani wakes up in a hospital bed and realizes that her hand is bound in a handcuff. The girl tries to get free, but just then a doctor appears on the other side of the door. The woman introduces herself as Dr. Reyes and tells the girl that she is the only survivor of a tornado that destroyed her home. She goes on to say that Dani managed to save herself thanks to her mutant genes, and further explains that her powers are still unknown. Hours later, the doctor takes the girl back to her room and tells her that she will remain in hospital under observation until they find out what her mutation is and how to control it. The next day, Dani enters a room where other young mutants are gathered with Dr. Reyes. The woman asks them to tell her about their powers, and the first to speak is Rahne, a girl who can transform into a wolf. After this, one of the mutants, Illyana, gets tired of the conversation and wants to leave, but the doctor asks her to give Dani a tour of the hospital even though she doesn't want to. She obeys. Outside, Illyana tells the newcomer that the hospital has no walls and that anyone can leave whenever they want. Dani believes her and tries to escape, but suddenly she bumps into an invisible dome. Seeing what has happened, the mutant mocks the girl and warns her that this place is not a hospital but a prison. Annoyed by the joke, Dani tries to attack her, but Illyana escapes by opening a portal that takes her away. Later, Dani goes to the hospital's clock tower and climbs to the edge. Saddened by everything that has happened, she thinks about killing herself, but before it's too late, Rahne appears and convinces her not to. After that, the two became friends and go to explore the hospital. When they reach a court, they meet another mutant called Sam who has the power to fly at sonic speed. Later, over dinner, they meet Beto, a mutant from Brazil, but no one knows what his powers are or why he is there. At the end of the day, the friends say goodbye and Dani goes to sleep, but in her dreams she remembers the night she lost her father. At the same time, Dr. Reyes observes the girl through the camera, and the readers indicate a strong emission of energy coming from her body. Meanwhile, Sam is talking to Beto in the laundry room until a strange tremor causes the lights to go out and one of the machines to shake. Sam goes to check what happened, but as he does so, his mind is transported to a memory from his past. He finds himself in a mine, and there he finds his father with a wound on his face. This confuses him and everything gets worse when one of the miners suddenly tries to attack him with a pickaxe. Sam tries to defend himself and uses his power to escape, but the energy emission causes him to be thrown against the wall and he returns to the real world. The next day, the young mutants continue their routine at the hospital until they go to rest in a recreation room. Dani arrives last and Illyana bothers her again with questions about her not having awakened her powers yet. The girl is not intimidated by the provocation and pulls the puppet from Illyana's arm. This infuriates her and she pushes the girl towards the table, but Dani strikes back with a headbutt. The mutant is even more annoyed by this and unleashes her power, creating a metallic arm with a cosmic energy sword. She tries to attack Dani, but then Dr. Reyes appears and creates a force field to protect her. After the fight, the two are forced to spend a night in solitary confinement. When Dani finally falls asleep, her psychic energy manifests again and she has another nightmare. In it, the girl recalls her escape in the forest, but this time drops of blood begin to fall from the sky. Looking up, Dani sees a strange entity forming in the clouds in the shape of a huge bear which tries to attack her. This eerie nightmare causes the girl to wake up screaming. Dr. Reyes then rushes to see what happened and finds Dani frightened and with her arms covered in blood. The next day, the doctor tries to calm her down while she takes samples of her blood to analyze in the laboratory. Meanwhile, Rahne goes to the chapel to go to confession, but suddenly a voice is heard in the confession hall and the doors start slamming on their own, which sends the girl into a panic. Later, Dani goes to find Rahne in her room, but she is still upset about what happened in the chapel. As the two talk, the other mutants appear and invite them up to the attic. There they play truth or dare using a lie detector. Each one reveals a little about their past, and when it's Dani's turn, Illyana asks what her power is, but the girl doesn't know. She then asks why Dani is wearing a bear necklace, and the girl says that it was a gift from her father to protect her from the mystical bear, which according to legend sucks the fear out of people. The group continues with the game during the night, but they don't realize that they are being watched by Dr. Reyes. The next morning the woman calls everyone together for another meeting. She says that the young mutants need to dedicate themselves to treatment so that they can be transferred to another location, which is coordinated by her supervisor. However, Sam gets angry at the idea of being stuck in that place any longer and leaves the room because of this. When night falls, Illyana takes revenge on the doctor and puts a sleeping pill in her tea. The group then takes the opportunity to have fun while the woman sleeps in her living room. While they're talking, Dani asks the group who this supervisor is that the doctor mentioned. Beto then replies that he must be Professor Xavier, leader of the group of mutants called the X-Men. Hours later, Rahne takes Dani to a secret exit. From there they go to a cemetery and see the rain falling above the dome, which creates a beautiful visual effect. Meanwhile, Beto looks at the photos of his old girlfriend on his cell phone until he hears a beautiful voice singing. He goes to find out where the sound is coming from and finds Illyana in the pool. The two enjoy the moment together, but Beto's body begins to heat up quickly. He confesses to Illyana that one day he tried to hug his ex-girlfriend, but his powers manifested and he accidentally burned her alive. The mutant tells him not to worry about it and that they should continue having fun. However, soon after, she disappears from the scene, which leaves Beto confused. Suddenly a charred hand emerges from the water. The mutant thinks it's Illyana, but when he turns around he finds his ex-girlfriend covered in flames in the form of a ghost. Moments later the hospital alarm is triggered, which wakes up Dr. Reyes far away. Dani and Rahne hear the noise and go to see what has happened. When everyone arrives at the pool area they find Beto with his body covered in fire. Seeing this, the doctor wastes no time and pushes him into the pool, which brings him back to normal. After the situation is under control, Illyana shows up without knowing anything, which only makes Beto even more confused. He tries to explain what happened, but the doctor tells him that all this time he was alone in the pool. Afraid he's crazy, Beto takes Dr. Reyes' cell phone and tries to call the police with the intention of telling them everything that's happening at the hospital. Illyana supports him and confronts the doctor, but she sends her back to solitary confinement as punishment for putting the sleeping pill in her drink. The next morning Dr. Reyes begins a new experiment with Dani to find out what her power is. To do this, she injects her with a substance so that she can remember what happened on the day of the tornado. Dani once again accesses her memories of that day until she suddenly sees a mysterious laboratory carrying out horrific experiments on young mutants. While these visions pass through her mind, other strange events begin to occur in the hospital. In solitary confinement the door to Illyana's room opens, but when she tries to leave she finds a horrifying drawing on the wall. At the same time Rahne is bathing in the bathroom and notices that someone is approaching. A priest with a deformed face whom the girl seems to know appears before her. She panics and tries to turn into a wolf, but the man steps on her hand and burns her with a hot iron. Rahne screams in pain and everyone rushes to help her. However, when the doctor opens the bathroom door, the girl appears transformed into a wolf and tries to escape, but the exit is blocked and she reverts to her human form. Afterwards her friends go to help her and find a mark made with a hot iron on her neck similar to the one she has on her back. Soon afterwards Illyana appears on the scene and says that Dani is responsible for everything that has happened. She accuses the girl of creating these disturbing visions and that she will end up taking everyone's life. Dani tries to defend herself against the accusations, but Illyana activates her mechanical arm and takes the girl to another dimension called Limbo. There the mutant tries to squeeze Dani's neck, but a strange mask appears on her face, causing Illyana to panic. This sends them both back to the hospital, and at that very moment the doctor seizes the chance and injects the mutant with a sedative and she loses consciousness. Hours later Dani goes to Illyana's room to apologize for what happened and returns her puppet. She is surprised by the gesture and tells her story to her, who created the limbo as a way of escaping her tragic past. Later Dr. Reese is in front of her computer waiting for an answer from her supervisor about what happened at the hospital. She receives a message informing her that after analyzing the samples taken from Dani, the girl is extremely dangerous and must be eliminated. The computer then asks for a confirmation code from the doctor, who enters the command and is then shown on the screen that the orders come from a secret corporation called Essex. Hours later Dani goes to visit Rahne to see how she is. However, before they can talk any further, the doctor shows up and calls the girl in for another experiment. Afterwards, Rahne goes back to the room where her friends are but becomes suspicious of the doctor's attitude. Suddenly music starts playing from the corridor and they go to see what it is. As they pass through the corridor, Illyana realizes that the sound is coming from her bedroom, which is suddenly covered in a strange black substance. The girl opens the door and sees a memory of herself from when she was a child. The memory shows a young Illyana in her bed next to her puppet. Just then a tall slender man appears to pick her up, but the girl teleports into limbo, which makes him furious. Seeing all this, the real Illyana screams in despair and the guy turns his face away. The creature then sets out to attack the mutant, but Sam protects her and the two flee. Meanwhile, Rahne goes to ask Dr. Reyes for help, but when she gets to the room where she and Dani were, she doesn't find the two of them. The girl realizes that something is wrong and turns into a wolf to save her friend, unaware that on the other side of the room the doctor is preparing to carry out the order to eliminate Dani. Meanwhile, Illyana and Sam run through the hospital corridors but are surrounded by 3 more monsters who appear to attack them. Nearby, Beto hears music in the kitchen and doesn't notice when one of the monsters approaches and tries to grab him. Luckily, when he realizes the threat, the mutant acts quickly and fires flaming projectiles with his hands. As they face the monsters, Dr. Reyes prepares to give Dani a lethal injection. However, Rahne appears in the air duct above her and attacks her with her claws. The doctor is seriously injured, but in an act of desperation she manages to take a scalpel and sticks it in the mutant's leg, giving her time to escape. Despite this blow, Rahne manages to recover and saves Dani before it's too late. Meanwhile, Sam and Illyana continue to escape through the hospital but are once again trapped in a corridor full of monsters. At that moment, Dr. Reyes appears and they ask for help, but when she sees the creatures she runs away. Sam then asks her friend to use her powers to stop them, but out of fear, she teleports into limbo. Left with no choice, Sam energizes his body to the max and flies at sonic speed towards the creatures, leaving them all in pieces. Afterwards, he encounters Beto, who tries to escape through the door, but they are all blocked by the force field. The two then try to find another way out, but as they enter a room, more creatures appear to attack them. Suddenly a portal opens in the middle of the stairs and out of it emerges Illyana. She activates her sword and cuts down the monsters one by one. Afterwards, the group gathers in the doctor's room and finds her files. When they read them, they discover that the place was not designed to treat mutants but to train them as real destruction machines. When they discover the truth, they all agree to escape, but the only way is to get the doctor and break the force field that is keeping them trapped there. The group searches for her and thanks to Rahne's keen nose they find her. However, even though she is wounded, the doctor is willing to carry out her plan and traps everyone in force fields. She also reveals that Dani's power is to turn people's greatest fears into real experiences to the point where they are eliminated. Because of this, the doctor tries to eliminate the girl by removing the oxygen from her force field. Just then a strong tremor begins to shake the hospital. The doctor goes to see what's going on and suddenly a gigantic bear bursts through the wall, grabs her with its mouth and swallows her up. Thanks to this, the force fields were broken and the mutants are freed. However, Dani is unconscious and her mind is trapped in one of her memories. Rahne tries to help her and realizes that the giant bear was accidentally created by her, being the materialization of her own fear. Illyana then tells the group to protect Dani while she faces the monster. The mutant then activates her sword once again and teleports out of the hospital. There she and her puppet Lockheed, now transformed by her magic into a dragon, stand before the bear. The entity charges at them, but Illyana makes a long leap and attacks it from above with her sword. At the same time, Lockheed attracts the monster's attention and fires bursts of fire into its face. However, not even their combined attack damages the creature, which tries to counterattack. While the fight is going on, the rest of the group runs towards the chapel to leave Dani in a safe place. However, on hearing Illyana screams, Sam decides to help her. As they enter the chapel, Rahne hides Dani in the confession hall and tries to get her to wake up. However, the bear invades the place and starts destroying everything around it. Just then Sam flies at top speed to attack the monster and manages to tear out one of its fangs. Soon after, Illyana and Lockheed return to the battlefield and attack the monster, but their blows have no effect. The bear then strikes the mutant, who is thrown away, but she manages to activate the portal and enters to safety. Meanwhile, Beto hides during the fight for fear of activating his powers and hurting his friends. However, when he sees the monster about to attack them, he stands in front of it and unleashes flames all over his body. The bear throws pieces of the chapel at him, but Beto manages to protect himself and uses one of them to counterattack. The fight intensifies and Rahne desperately tries to wake Dani, but she remains unconscious. Dani then reaches the same tree where her father left her and hears her friend's voice asking her to come back. However, the girl can't get out. Meanwhile, Beto continues to fight the bear, but it smashes him to the ground and knocks him unconscious. Rahne then decides to help him and jumps up to the monster's face and attacks it with her claws. However, despite her best efforts, the girl is thrown over the chapel ledge and begins to fall. At the same time, Dani's sleeping body is almost trampled by the monster, but Sam appears and saves her at the last minute. Then in Dani's mind, the image of her father appears. He tells his daughter that she must be stronger than her fear and must go back to help her friends. Dani then wakes up just as the monster is about to attack Rahne and orders it to stop. The bear tries to resist, but the girl slowly approaches him and tries to calm him down. When the creature finally stops attacking, Dani hands over her bear necklace and tells the entity to go away, proving that she is no longer afraid. Finally, the monster crumbles and the whole nightmare comes to an end. The next morning, the group meets in the middle of the hospital, which has been completely destroyed. Dani thanks everyone for helping her, but Rahne says that it was she who saved them from that place. Now that Dr. Reyes has been eliminated, Sam throws a rock into the sky and realizes that the invisible dome no longer exists. The young mutants are finally free of that prison and decide to search for the nearest city. The group walks towards the exit, united after a traumatic experience, but with the certainty that they are now free to choose their own destinies. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let us know in the comments, and if you like my video, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.